What is Chicago style? Chicago style refers to a set of rules for formatting, writing, and citing your research for an academic paper or project. The style rules are published in the Chicago Manual of Style. Updated every few years, the manual is currently in its 18th edition. Chicago offers two distinct methods of documentation: the author-date system for the sciences, and the Notes and Bibliography Format for the humanities. The Notes and Bibliography Format is the most common for Lone Star College, so this video will focus on it. When citing using Chicago style, there are two important parts to your citation: the note, which goes within the document at the point where the information is used, and the bibliographic citation, which is at the end of the document. Both parts need to be included for your citations to be correct. Notes can take the form of either footnotes or endnotes. Both types of notes follow the same format, with the only difference being where they appear within your paper. Footnotes appear at the bottom or foot of the page, where they are cited in the text. Endnotes will be at the end of the paper in one list before the bibliography. Although it doesn't matter which style of notes that you use, you will want to be consistent throughout your paper, and be sure to check with your instructor for their preference. Notes belong directly after you use a piece of information within the body of your work. They will appear as superscript numbers right after the information. The superscript, or raised small number, will refer your reader to the notes section, where the entirety of your note citation will appear. The first time that you cite a source in your paper, you need to use the full note format, which includes all elements of the citation. Any additional times that you cite the same work in your paper, you can then use the subsequent note format, or the shortened note. The bibliography includes all works that you cited within your project. You might cite one article several times throughout your paper, but it only needs to be included once in your bibliography. Bibliographic entries will look very similar to your full-length notes and include the full details of how to locate that work. Citations are arranged in alphabetical order by the first piece of information in the list. The information that you need to cite a work depends on the type of information. There are three major components that make up a citation: author, title, and publication information. The first element is the author, or the person responsible for the work that you are citing. This could be an individual, several people, or even a company or organization. For a note, you will write the author's name as first name, last name. For the bibliography, you will reverse that and write it as last name, comma, first name. If a work has two authors, you will include both of their names. For the bibliography, however, you would only reverse the first author's name to be last name, comma, first name. It gets a bit trickier when you have a work with 3 to 6 authors. For the note, include only the first author's name, followed by the abbreviation ET space AL period, or et al. For the bibliography, list all of the names up to 6 authors. For works with 7 or more authors, the note is the same as for the 3 to 6. Just include the first author and et al. In the bibliography, write out the first 3 authors and then use et al. The next element is the title of the work, which is the name of what you are citing. For works that are part of a greater whole, like an article, book chapter, webpage, or song, use quotation marks around the title. For works that are standalone, like books, journals, magazines, or websites, you want to italicize the title. The final element is the publication information, which is where the information is found. This section will vary depending on the type of information that it is. 3 of the most common works you will cite are articles from a journal, websites, and books. To cite a print book, you only need 4 pieces of information: the author or authors, the title, the publisher, and the publication date. The full note for a book will include author first name, last name, comma, book title in italics, open parentheses, publisher, comma, year of publication, close parentheses, comma, page number of the information that you're using at that point in your paper, period. Any additional notes referring to that book can use the shortened note form, which just includes the author's last name, comma, a short version of the title in italics, comma, and the page number for the information used, period. The bibliographic entry will look a lot like the first note, just with different punctuation. Invert the author's name so that it's last name, comma, first name, Change out the commas after the author's last name and the book title for periods. Remove the parentheses from around the publisher and year, and change out the comma following the year for a period. If the book that you're describing is an ebook, cite it just like the print book, but add the name of the database or the URL at the end of the citation. Citing an article gets a bit more complicated since it's a piece of a larger work. You need to describe both the article and the larger work that it's part of. Start by describing the article itself. For the full note, author first name, last name, comma, title of article in quotation marks, comma. Next, we describe the larger work, the journal. Title of journal in italics, volume number, comma, issue number, year in parentheses, colon, page numbers for the information used. If the article has a DOI or a digital object identifier, it'll be listed in the database record for that article. If so, add it after the page number, comma, DOI, period. If it doesn't have a DOI, include a permanent URL instead. A short note for an article looks similar to that for a book. Author last name, comma, short title of article in quotes, comma, page number of information used, period. To create your bibliographic citation, just take your full note and move around the pieces in punctuation. Invert the author's name so that it's last name, comma, first name. Change out the commas after the author's name and after the article title for periods. Change out the page number of the information to be page numbers for the entire article, and replace the comma with the period. Citing websites can get tricky since they often don't have consistent information. Try to find as much information as you can about the webpage. The citation for a webpage starts the same as for a book or article, with the author. For the full note, author first name, last name, comma, title of webpage in quotes, comma. Many times you won't be able to find an author for a webpage. If that's the case, start with the title of the webpage instead. Next, add the source or the larger work where the webpage came from. This often is the name of the website as a whole. If the website is the name of a formal publication, like a newspaper, then italicize it. If not, then just leave it regular. Website, comma, date, comma. If there's no date on the webpage, include the abbreviation N.D. for no date in its place. Finally, include the full link to the webpage, URL, period. For the short note, you just need to include the author's last name and a short version of the webpage title in quotes. If it doesn't have an author, just use the short version of the title. Converting your full note into your bibliographic citation still simply involves adjusting the pieces in the punctuation. If there's an author, invert the name so that's last name, comma, first name. Replace the commas after the author, the webpage title, the website, and the date with periods. These are just a few of the common types of citations. Not everything will fit this pattern. For more examples of citing different types of resources in Chicago style, visit the LSC Library's Citation Help Guides.